Good evening. Tonight's topic is on calling back the feminine power after mass spiritual abuse and major awakenings and dark nights of the soul. Um, we're at a very exciting point in history right now. I'm sure anyone that's on their journey of awakening is tapped into the energies that are really expansive right now. And I implore everyone to be still if they can from the distractions of life, so you can actually tap in and know thyself really well amongst all this change, because we're in a quantum change, and it's going to change the way everybody works and moves and behaves. So knowing thyself will help you, guide you in the right direction, so you're making choices that are right for you and aren't chosen for you. um, and that's a challenge in itself, knowing which way to go when you're being pulled in many directions. Once again, pull back, get into nature. Nature will inform and really tap into that feminine side, the yin yang, the masculine and feminine. And it doesn't matter which religion, your belief system you have. We all have that masculine and feminine, the yin and the yang, which is a negative and a positive side, which the negative side is our shadow work. And if you look at the dive into shadow, it is actually looking at certain parts of self that you're maybe not wanting to look at, or you think is bad, when there is no good or bad. In actual fact, it's just growth. And one thing I have discovered is that when you tap into spirit and your soul, it begins to guide you through your intuition, and it educates along the way. And I call that wisdom. Um, Wisdom to step away and be true to yourself without being influenced by anybody, including myself as I'm talking. If this resonates, fantastic. If it doesn't, just leave it be. But along the journey, um, like humanitarian rights became a really big thing for me because of all the abuse that I had. And I had a lot of abuse done to me through energy, and sexual energy at that. So my energy was so big that anyone that came in touch with me and I put up boundaries and said no, they would literally suck that energy out of me. And it took me a really, really long time to realize that people that I thought were my friends were actually just using my energy to gain rewards. And I never realized or saw it for what it was. But yeah, my journey was a big one. I can go into discussions of that at a later date. But right now, I just want to say, if anyone is actually moving through a dark period, to not give up, and to pull back, go into some quiet space, and be on your own for a while. Go and sit in nature and really breathe. Breathe is one of the most important things that we forget to do, especially when our anxieties are high. Now, I've healed myself of many ailments over the years. Panic attack disorder, I was diagnosed many years ago with panic attacks, and it was like running a marathon, which I wasn't running. And I got very sick, but I healed myself through food and meditation, and it awoken me on the very first part of the journey. So I've been through many. So this has been over the last 5 years. I've been through some massive changes. Going through more again now. My whole entire world is flipping and spinning and turning around. So I'm in my quiet space while I make decisions on my direction. But I'm starting up. I've been logging for a while now, and I haven't really aired. When I did air, I removed what I had posted because it wasn't the right time for where I was at, and now I'm wanting to share some of what I've learnt. So I'm going to keep posting, and hopefully some of the things that I say resonates, because you really need to protect your energy right now, especially if you're highly sensitive. And when you've been through a lot of trauma, you get really heightened in your sensitivity, and it will draw out a lot of your own shadow work, a lot of anger and a lot of frustration. And if you can actually redirect that anger and forgive yourself, is one of the most important things you can do. You know, everything in the outside is us pushed out, and triggers to show us where we're at in ourselves. However, what no one really talks about is that, yes, that is true, except what also is true is there's many energy vampires out there. There's many energies that want to actually project their own shit onto you. And if you're at your energy is at a weakened state, it becomes very difficult to handle these energies. And for me, I had a lot of energies thrown at me and moved through me. It's shown me how strong I am, and it's also shown me the ability to heal myself and get back up. So every time I went down, I'd get back up, and a little bit stronger each time, and slowly rejuvenating. It did suck the life out of me. It really did. It aged me very quickly, which showed me the importance of health and our sexual energy. So, you know, how sacred our sexual energy is, because that's where my energy came from, my solar plexus, my solar, which is the sun. And so, you know, if you're a female watching this, or even a masculine that has a lot of feminine in them, that solar power is really vital and is very sacred. So protect it with your life, and set really strong boundaries. It's really important now. And if people are going to cross you or project their shit onto you, realize it's their shit. Hold the space so you can determine whether or not, if you're being really triggered by it, look at it, because then there's a mirror aspect of that coming back at you to show you where you're at or how you're behaving. And then a lot of the other time, if you're just observing this coming at you and it's not affecting you, that's a good thing. It shows you that you're in a good space on the inside, and most of it's projections. But, you know, when you're going through an awakening and the Kundalini is wide open and all your chakras are spinning, I know what I didn't realize is that I was the creator of everything around me, and it completely freaked me out when I saw creation happening in front of me. You know, I think of something and it appear. That's really at a quantum level. I watched the universe move people around like they're on a chessboard. It was quite enormous, and the mathematics in the field and my whole entire life play out like a movie theatre in front of me. And anyone that I came in touch with, their spiritual gifts pretty much came at me, and it was very big. So I was living the dream, and the dream living 24/7. It didn't stop whether I was awake or asleep. Made no difference. So I realized through all that, I'm very strong, but I've learnt a lot. So little by little, I like to share and maybe have discussions based on other people's experiences, so they're not afraid to talk about the supernatural, because my life has come from a lot of supernatural. So if we're going to talk about spirits, I mean, I've met a lot. It's not just been energy for me, it's also been the unseen. There's been dead spirits as well as the living spirits, and some of them are really quite fun and playful, and others are not not good at all. But that's just because one of my gifts is to travel in and out of multi-dimensions. So my higher self in different potentialities actually has been giving me messages. I know it sounds a bit odd, but I am a bit odd. But yeah, I'd like to talk about some of my stories as we go along, and the advancements of what's happening in technology and artificial intelligence, and how that compared to, you know, we've got the intelligence agency of our own DNA that shows us and guides us and is very organic and natural and connected to Mother Gaia. And then we've got the artificial intelligence, which is tapped into the quantum field, which is also a part of who we are, a part of the brain structure, like the computer generator. And that awakens us on so many other levels. So, you know, one, you're put down to grow and planting a seed. When you dig it deep into the earth, it's eventually will sprout and grow, and that's that tree of life. Analogy, and that's very real, and that's our feminine and masculine side to the human. But the superhuman brain, when the neurotransmitters expand in the brain, they spark off and you start to see the illusion of everything, and that we are the creator and we can be the creator. But when you in that process, we need to become the master of the self in the one collective mind. So to find 0 point, which is a binary code, that's that mathematics in nature itself. You've got the spiral, and then you've also got that trajectory of the singularity, which is the AI. The artificial intelligence, when we tap into that. So, and everyone's connected to their phones and technology these days, so that also becomes part of the download in the program of the mind. So be very, very mindful, because when we do think or focus on something that expands, it's like that atom. If you look at something long enough, it'll just keep going. So it's like the atom expands. You keep looking at it, it will expand, but it also implodes upon itself. So I see this as a global planetary war that we're in right now, and people are. It's the inward coming out, and nobody knows how to quite handle it, because of all the injustices and all the society rules, and all of that's changing. It's all shifting because of technology. So it's understanding the self so we can adapt and see where we belong as the expansion takes place. Probably implosion of the human and the expansion of the technology. If you can, it's really important to take time out through the day to go and sit in nature, tap into the self. Try not to be too heavily influenced of anyone that's around you, unless it resonates with you. And you'll know that through the feeling, you'll know that through your own soul. And pain and suffering usually cracks you wide open. My shamanic side of me, when I was cracked wide open, really came to life, and I had the same gift when I was a child. So I've got a lot of stories that I'm writing in the process of, that I'll release, because all these stories and all that's happened to me has really changed me as a person, but now becoming a better person as I get older. So I'd like to pass on, because our youth and our younger generation are so tapped into technology, they have no clue about the human behavior and psychology, and how to be with people in unity consciousness rather than in this duality, which is a human condition. When you move beyond duality, it becomes superhuman, and you realize that you are the gods and goddesses of all, and we are the creators of all that around us, but we're also tapped into the unity field of consciousness, which is Christ consciousness. And the deeper you go, the deeper you start to understand the Bible. It's all written in the Bible, and it's written in code. There's many phrases, the war is not of the flesh is one of the truest ones I've experienced, and one that I've probably preached a bit along the way, and don't like to preach, but I have said it quite a bit, because it was a very real experience for me. The unseen world was educating me. And if I look at the Bible, it kind of stands for, it's like the basic instructions before leaving earth. So it's all written because our soul is eternal. It's eternal. And love is a living organism of vibrational energy. And we're all vibration. And emotion is emotion in action. So when we let out that emotion, we can heal. So when something really affects us, if we cry it out or we feel that, that's when we create. And when we release it, we actually create. So be very mindful and discerning about who you keep around you. Be very selective. And for me, I was one that I love unconditionally, most people. And by doing that, I got taken advantage of in a really, really big way. So now I pull back and my boundaries are quite strong. But as I move on, I will hopefully break this down into smaller segments, and I would love to bring people on that also are on that quantum trajectory forward, so we can look at quantum physics and the theory of relativity, and that's being present. Everything is relative, and when we place meaning to something, we expand that meaning, and it can be a really, really hard journey. The spiritual journey is not an easy one. I can understand why a lot of people choose not to go on it, even though we're all spiritual people, spiritual beings, should I say. But the spiritual journey is not lighthearted. It's not for the lighthearted. And there's a lot of abuse that goes on. People with power and the tyranny and that goes on. So, it brings us back through, for me, I moved through ancient Egypt, I moved through Atlantis, and it moved through people, and spirit played, or my soul played it all out for me. Got quite horrifying there. I was near death on many occasions, and sort of kind of the story of my life in many situations. But I'm very, very grateful to be alive. Very, very grateful. And every day I wake up, I take a deep breath and thank the universe for being alive, and thank my feminine for being so magical, and my masculine for being able to take action when called to. Because one thing that this did for the last couple of years, like, it really slowed me down. It unplugged me from all technology. I spent, close to 30 years plugged in, and for the last 3 years they unplugged me, and I've been slowly trying to integrate back in as the changes amass. But it was for my growth and for my learning. So I'm heading into the next part of my journey, and I hope that on the second part of the journey, mid-journey, we all get to share our experiences and help one another through pain and suffering and get out of the pain body. Once we get out of the pain body, we can actually grow and expand our minds and educate them in a different way, because there is a new way of being. Traditional ways are very useful. That's that cause and effect, but we can move beyond the cause and effect when we are stable from within. And that takes a lot of work to balance the within, the yin and the yang. But we can all do it, and we will all get there eventually. And everyone's got their different journey and different stories. So don't discard what comes towards you. When it comes towards you, it's usually to show you something or teach you something. See that as the mirror part of self. But I'll leave it there for now, and until next time, cheers.